Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do another in-depth video. Today we're going to talk about air. And I think it's fitting we do it right now because, well, after last update, you redid this, like the F3 the interface. Yeah, interface. So it looks a lot better and it's so much easier to manage your aircraft. Especially, but the best thing, most people like the range and the thing that they it's much clearer, but I like that you can actually see the planes down here, so you really know where, and you can also see what people have no missions, and that's kind of useful in when you're planning ahead on what you're gonna do. So let's get started. First I want to talk about different planes. There are here in air tab, we start off with one fighter and one tactical bomber and one strategic bomber. That's the three main categories, and they go down into different things we have. But I think it's kind of weird that they did it like this. Got it. Because the heavy fighter and the fighter are doing the same job, and they are in different tabs. But it's cool because like a lot of nations, at least in Europe, start with these two, so it really doesn't matter. But okay, we're gonna start from left and move to right. The fighter here, the first one, we're gonna do top row though first. This fighter here is terrible. It's the one, I think, no, not everyone starts with it, like Asia and that kind of stuff. But it does everything the normal fighter does, but it's really bad. It's really bad, actually. But the thing is, it costs, it's a bit cheaper in aluminium, but otherwise, as you can see, it's really bad in terms of just stats, range, that kind of shit. But it's so you really don't want to be using this. The first one is when the first show here is when you get down to good shit. But yeah, it's a standard. The tactical bomber here, it's actually okay. I like this first one. The second one is a lot better, and this one here, it starts to be insane. And this is not only for Germany. I picked Germany as I picked UK for Navy because Germany is often associated with aircraft during the war. So I thought it's fitting. If you wondered, but this is for any nation. This goes for. And the first aircraft here, it's good. Here it starts to be really good actually. I usually don't go down to the Focke-Wulf 190 for Germany, for any nation. Well, maybe US, but the extra production cost makes it not a lot worse per se, but just I like the cheap, especially as Germany, where you have limited factories. Maybe it's US, you just want the best things, and then I can see it. But here, this one, it's a lot better, and you can actually do a lot of damage in strategic bombing as well as the other ones. And yeah, let's go here then. The Junker 87, it's the close air support. I use them a lot in conjunction with normal fighters. These two go hand in hand because, well, the close air support, I think they have a bit better range. No, actually I have it exact same. I thought they have like 50 more or something. Okay, so they work perfectly, and you mostly use this for initial pushings and not really long drawn fights. So like France, you use in northern France, Benelux region, because you have these airports close by which can reach. As you can see here, these don't really reach that far. This can reach, but here, if I had him, he would mainly reach like here. So it's not that far, but it's enough because the push in here, it's enough to just help out initial, and that's the important part. Fight and also closer support and fights are best in defense because the low range in defense doesn't really matter, and they're really cheap. So you can pump out a lot of them. So in defense, these are king. In offense, like in Soviet, and if you want to attack UK and that kind of stuff, the range is really the problem. Even if you want to attack Norway from Denmark, it's a bit far actually for fighters, and you'll need something heavier. So that's these two. The naval bomber. Naval bombers are useful for two different reasons. One, for Germany, the only reason I use them, as Germany at least, you get air superiority in which we'll go through later, here in the Baltic Sea, and you use them to attack the enemy ships if they try to come in here and attack your fleets. You just get a bit extra help. But there's another reason you can use naval bombers, and that's these guys. And that's because you can port strike with them, and you basically just put them here, and they port strike all of these ports. If there's ships in here, they'll attack them. and it was OP earlier in the game. I think it's not as OP anymore, but it's still a good tactic to use nonetheless. Next aircraft we got, and same here, these two, none of these actually I usually go down. I don't really have a time, because these are just good enough and they're cheap, so just saying. Here we have a heavy fighter. The heavy fighter is like the big brother of a fighter. It does the same thing. It has a bit more range, a bit more HP, but worse speed, maximum speed, and worse guns, I think. Either way, it's more expensive. It's a lot more expensive. Check here, 24 versus 28, and reliability is, oh, it was high. I thought it had it worse. Okay. So yeah, that's the heavy fighter. You use that for longer distance and where you want to defend your strategic bombers and tactical bombers. That's places these can't reach. The fighters, the close air support, you use the heavy fighter and the tactical and strategic. So let's say you're attacking Soviet, you use heavy fighters if you want to bomb from Warsaw. Let's say they got Eastern, you got Western. You bomb from Warsaw here, all the way to Belarus and Ukraine. Mostly Ukraine in that situation because they have the best factories compared to this Belarus area though, but yeah. So that's what you use it for, and they're also quite useful for paratroopers because they can help out with paratroopers. If you want a paratrooper, let's say a long distance, example, maybe from here you want to attack Estonia and Latvia. From this area here, you see they can't reach and defend. Well, you use, if you want a paratroop that far, I think you can reach about here. Not 100% sure. Either way, you use heavy fighters to get that extra range and just help it out. And because with what's it called? The transport planes, they have really good range, as you can see. So yeah, they easily reach up here, I guess. Yeah, it seems so. Cool. And the tactical bomber is the same as the close air support. It's a thing with fighters and heavy fighters. It's like close air support and tactical fighters, tactical bombers. The tactical bombers are much more versatile than the close air support. Because close air support they only can do close air support. But tactical bombers, they can do strategic bombing as well. Because these two you don't want to use. Well, actually, as Japan you can use these two, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's I've seen it being used in this area of sea here, north of Indonesia, like here. It's okay. If you manage to capture Philippines and the Indonesia man, you can defend really well by using those, but yeah. And strategic bombers, you only use them if you want to go for nukes, because otherwise you can just use tactical bombers. And in the production cost, well, you can see they're a lot more expensive, and they can only do strategic bombing, but they're better at it. They're better at it and they have better range and stuff. But not a lot, as you see. But there are advantages with strategic bombers, but I usually don't go for it unless I want to go for nukes. So that's USA, Germany, Soviet, Japan, UK. Yeah, UK can use them because the extra range is useful because it means you can hit more of the German infrastructure and factories because they are mainly here in the west side. We're in here. This part of Germany is what has all the industry. Oh well. Let's go to the next thing. Different planes. No, let's do doctrines. Okay, doctrines. Let's go check out the doctrines. We have 3 different doctrines like any other. And here we have the left side, which is, from my point of view, the only one that's good. I really think this is the only one that's good. Maybe this middle. Well, the middle one is absolutely the next best. But and you should only go down the middle if you intend to have a lot of close air support, CAS, Junker, yeah, close air support, I mean this one, and not tactical bombers, because when I say tactical bombers, okay, we get that out of the way. Okay, and if you want to go for a lot of them, you need a lot of fighters as well, so it's, yeah, it takes a lot of factories to do that, and so it's Germany that can do it, maybe Soviet, but Soviet would probably have more use of going down there. But why would Soviet go down there? Why would Soviet need planes? No, my bad. Soviet's not going down anything. But yeah, they're really in battles. And the right side, I really dislike the right side for a lot of reasons. Mainly, it doesn't do a lot. like down here with strategic bombing and superiority, it's so good for nations like USA and UK that has a lot of planes. These strategic bombing bonuses, it makes it so even though tactical bombers can have a lot better job, a lot easier time, let's say, doing it, and their superiority bonuses are also king, because here mission efficiency makes it so, well, your dogfighters, they have it easier, so it's good for that reason. The closest port here in the middle, it's okay, but it doesn't do a lot, because if you don't have air superiority, well, this is not useful, this won't help you. Okay, the next thing, we're gonna mention this about TAS that I wrote down here to my right, but because I did some testing a couple months ago on like 1.2, and so maybe it changed, but it shouldn't be changed. I wasn't sure if a backgunner here, because I knew in real life he said backgunners, so I wasn't sure if they actually worked in this game and they could shoot down other planes, and it turns out they can. And we did a test. We put 1,000 Junkers versus 1,000 fighters, and one fighter destroyed 30 Junkers before it got taken down. So you need 30 as many close air support if you want to have air superiority versus these guys. By saying that, these guys didn't take down 30, they took down like 25 to 28 before they got killed. So these guys, you need at least 30 to take down one. That's what we found out by the testing. Maybe it's wrong, but that's what I can recall at least. I just want to mention it, so you can get air superiority with these versus the fighters. But it's hard, and I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, next. Oh, combinations. Yeah, I mentioned combinations before. These two go really well hand in hand, and if anything, I would keep this one and go down for this guy here, mainly because I feel like the bonuses you get are better, even though it now outranges this guy. It's okay. I feel like that, because if a fighter outranges the close air support, that doesn't do anything, because the fighter isn't needed in front of a line. But as the front line is moving, if the close air support, as long as it can keep up, it's good, and when it can't keep up, well, that's too bad. So that's the reason I would prefer going down here, and most of the time you don't have time to go down any of these, but if you have to choose, go down here. Next, naval bomber. They work as well with fighter, and this is why I think these are in a group and these are in a group, because these work very well together in a trio, maybe we can call it. Like this one helps this one helps that. But the thing is, the naval bomber also has it's quite weak, so you never really put these guys can. There's not a lot of fighting over the seas like in Baltic, Eastern, North Sea. It's mostly here in the English Channel and North Sea, not the Eastern North Sea. I mean the North Sea, the English Channel. That's where fighting will happen, and there won't be any trouble getting air superiority if you want it. So these guys are never used together with these, because you don't need it usually. Okay. And the heavy fighters here, they go hand in hand with the tactical bombers and the strategic bombers. And if you're planning on going down strategic bombers, you don't need to research any of these. You just need to get as good fighter as possible. Because as you can see, the best one here isn't even as good as this one. And I haven't mentioned this, but there's a way to manipulate to get more range, and that's by upgrading your planes. Maybe you should know about this. You create the variant, and if anything on a plane, you want to upgrade the engine to 4, maybe 5 if you can, but 4. Weapons, reliability, I usually do 2 on reliability, 1 on weapons, 4 on engine, and depending if I need the range, I'll upgrade the range. And this is why you don't need to research planes, because you can just create variants. And you could say the same about boats, but I didn't mention it in that, because I really don't think you do. I never really do a lot of variants for my boats, because it's not. If anything, it's for my destroyer, and that's reliable, anti-air, maybe 1 ASD and engine. You could do torpedo, yeah, but on the rest of them, I really don't think it's necessary, because if anything, it's reliability, but possibly anti-air. But yeah, it's really not necessary to boost up these boats. But in airplanes it is. It's always useful, and you should be used to using your experience to, first off, the engine. Engine is really important. It doesn't really have anything negative to it. It just gives you max speed and agility. So you should max that out as ASAP. Next thing, I would do reliability to 2, and after that a weapon. And but why not max out everything? Well, I just think they become too like I don't know. I just don't do it. And if you could do it, well, you can try out, but that's usually what I do. I don't. Okay, next thing to talk about, air superiority and our orders. Yeah, okay. We have different orders here. I've talked about them, what the different planes do, but we have air superiority, and that basically means you take control of airspace. If you assign all of these on air superiority, oh no, well, I'll do it. If you assign these fighters here, air superiority here, they will going to fight our fighters to get air superiority. If you assign them on intercept, they're gonna try and shoot down bombers and not try to get air superiority in first hand. If you have air superiority, well, they will shoot down interception. If they don't have any bombers, they will go for air superiority. I think that's how it works, but priorities, okay. And here these guys here, we can do close air support. That means they assist ground troops in fighting and gives them bonuses. And it's the main thing you're going to want to do. So we're gonna do that, and oh, actually, like that. And they can also do strategic bombing, destroys infrastructure and factories. They can also naval strike, defeat enemy boats, port strike, defeat enemy ports. Yeah, I think I mentioned some of those earlier. Sorry for that, man, if I'm repeating. Let's go to. No, I've done that different. Oh, the continuous focus. Yeah, that's quite important actually. I didn't mention this in Naval either because I didn't think it was necessary. But air production is super OP. Not OP, it's good, it's good. But I never use naval production because dockyard output 20%. Okay, sure, okay. If it was factory output 10%, I would use it all the time. But because it's dockyard and it's like you don't really need to push out boats that fast, but airplanes do. Because airplanes die a hell of a lot often. Boats really don't. They die, but not in the same rate as airplanes. So this is usually a lot better. And the minus in cost is, I think, is better than output. Maybe not. Maybe the output is better. But I usually tend to think that at least. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. So if you can, especially Germany, because Germany's tree is so small. Like there's only a couple of things you want to do. That's dance or war. Dance Sudetenland, Slovenia route, go down Fate of Greece, and these two here, and it's this side, and it's these two, and then this one, and then you're basically done. Maybe you pick up this one, but you don't even need to do all of that. You can skip this route down here. You can skip. You can almost skip this, but not really if you want to go this. And you can just do air production the rest of the game and just pump out planes. And for same with US doesn't have a small tree, so we can't do it as quick. But what we do have, well, they have quite a small tree if you just count what's important. Because what's important is this right side and going down here, giant wakes, limited intervention. That's the good shit. The rest is worthless, so you can also do quite early if you just know what you're doing. But sometimes you want to go down here. Oh well. Air production and pump those out, and even the naval dockyard. For US only though, I would say. And UK they have a bay tree and you really don't have time, but if you do find some time you can do air production, but not naval production, because you start off with so many boats already. You really don't need to build more. Not a lot more at least, but US they need to do it, even though we start with a lot. It's hard. And anything else I need to talk about? Research, maybe. Well, no, I basically talked about it, but saying you shouldn't do it. Oh well, if you start off as a nation, I'm gonna just mention this as an outro because we're closing in. But if you're playing a minor, and this is just a small tip, like Iran. Do I know any of these? Iraq. I think that's Iraq. Yep. If you play a nation like this, most often than not, they start up with like this, a thing on fighters. You should always move them, because at least in multiplayer you always have allies that can get your air superiority. Just as a small tip now for Voucher. What the fuck? I didn't know this guy was a leader. That must be new. Oh well, okay. And I really recommend you do it, even in single player. You need a factory for something else. So that's just a small tip. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below. and tell me in the comments if you have any questions about this, and I'll start working on the army one. Goodbye.